Why is there good and bad art? Today I'm going to tell you about my experience with bad art, how I originally detested it but learned to appreciate it. Let's be honest, we all have our share and thoughts on whether it comes to comparing what is good and what is better. Especially in art, we tend to judge based on our preferences and our style. First, I'm going to tell you about my experience with what I used to consider to be bad art. Then I'm going to inform you about Jacob Lawrence, how he makes such simple art become so sophisticated and meaningful. And finally, I'm going to dive into what I consider to be the art controversies. Well, as someone who strives to draw realistically, abstract art was always my nemesis. During my senior year of high school, I had the freedom to take an art class. My art teacher, given the opportunity, took the entire class to Stanford Museum. At that time, I want to note that Stanford Museum was displaying its primary collections of abstract art. Yet 5 minutes into the gallery tour, I was already bored and exhausted. While telling myself that abstract art was not my passion, I decided to take the remaining tour time to sit down. Just 5 seconds later, I remember my art teacher making her way towards me. Vividly, she tells me, "What do you think about this piece?" Pointed to slide 1. Well, of course, although I was not invested in abstract art, I wanted to assure her along the lines of, "Oh, it's very nice." But I still remember her looking down at me where I'm sitting and telling me, "It's not just nice, it's an amazing piece. You can see how expressive the artist is, like the lines and the details and everything." When I look up at her smiling, my head was justifying what my friends were saying earlier, that all art teachers were crazy. Yet my art teacher was not crazy because she knew a truth that I didn't know. She knew something that I didn't know. When facing a piece of art, rather than simply look at it, we should be prepared to understand its story. I never regret looking twice at Jacob Lawrence and his work. According to an article, How Jacob Lawrence Captured the African American Experience with the Immigration Series by Kelly Richardman, Jacob Lawrence is an artist that didn't shy away from reality. Taken from Jacob Lawrence's official website published by the Philip Collections, his primary and my favorite work is the Migration Series. At first glance, the Migration Series speaks out a simple, almost what I used to consider easy piece of drawings. Yet looking to the painting itself, one can see the lack of detailing. This is emphasized from the lack of tones and the fact that it's a one-dimensional art piece. For such a painting, one can finish it in just simply a couple of minutes to even a couple of seconds. Yet when we look closely at Jacob Lawrence's story, we start to appreciate that this painting in a new perspective. According to the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco, Jacob Lawrence's 60-panel work depicts the migration African American who was forced to transition from the rural South to the industrialized North as the post-World War I was ongoing. From each of the 60-piece panel, each portrays the hardship that immigrants must experience throughout their journey. Julia Faree, in her article, A Closer Look at Jacob Lawrence's Immigration Series, explained the meaning behind each panel and the importance they had from one another. In panel 29, Jacob Lawrence explicit a scene of labor agents recruiting laborers who was previously neglected with the promise of work and education. This is said in slide 2. Yet these immigration laborers were pronounced to discrimination and petty wages that portray their poverty and their food storage. On the other hand is panel 11. In this painting, one can see a malnourished child looking up at his mother who is slicing bread. According to an excerpt from Elizabeth Hutton Turner interview with Jacob Lawrence in 1993, because of the war, the prices of food was doubled, bringing people to fall behind starvation and a reality of food storage. But yet aside from Jacob Lawrence, art itself had always remained controversial. According to a question panel, Is Abstract Art Real? By Daniel Young, there was a question posted regarding a question, is abstract art real? Is abstract art the reality, or is it just something that a child can paint? According to one of the answers, it was stated that abstract art was not real art. This is backed up by the author saying that goes into saying that abstract art is a practice without any artistic inquiry. As an art lover myself, I find this statement to be very controversial. In my perspective, abstract art, let alone art itself, should be judged by only the person who previews it. So rather than promoting the entirety of abstract art as a pointless practice, it is better to separate from one opinion of one art from the entire classification. Well, to conclude, I began to talk about my own journey to realizing what is abstract art in my own perspective. And then I talked about Jacob Lawrence and how his story had turned bad art into one of today's most famous art pieces. And finally, I rebutted a typical statement that really disregard many abstract artists as unconventional. I hope my experience with bad art promotes you to appreciate the story behind every art piece. Well, to conclude, I know the coronavirus is kind of happening right now, but next summer, SF MoMA is opening a series of shows that really regarded abstract art. Go visit the museum. I entice you to not only glance and walk away while strolling the gallery, but also read a sentence off the author's note. And if you don't have time, there are barcode scanners that are readily available that would tell you plenty of information about the artist and the art piece. Thank you.